October the 2nd, 2002, a day that would forever change the landscape of the Washington, D.C. area. 41-year-old John Allen Muhammad, a Gulf War veteran, and his 17-year-old accomplice Lee Boyd Malvo would later be known as the D.C. Snipers. Their unlikely partnership, fueled by hatred and radical beliefs, began to take shape in the late 1990s in Antigua, where Muhammad was living after a contentious divorce. Muhammad, embittered by the loss of custody of his children and seeking vengeance against his ex-wife Mildred, saw in Malvo a young man ripe for manipulation. By the time they reunited in the United States, Muhammad had indoctrinated Malvo with his extremist views, shaping him into a willing accomplice in their reign of terror. Their plan to terrorize the Washington, D.C. area unfolded on October the 2nd, 2002, with the fatal shooting of James Martin, a 55-year-old program analyst at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Martin's senseless death left the community reeling, unaware that it was just the beginning of a series of senseless acts. James Martin was known for his dedication to his work and his community. He was a beloved father and husband whose sudden loss left a void in his family's life. Friends and colleagues described him as a gentle soul. The following day, the streets of Montgomery County, Maryland, became a hunting ground as the snipers took aim at innocent victims. Among them was James "Sonny" Buchanan, a 39-year-old man mowing his lawn, and Prem Kumar Walikar, a 54-year-old taxi driver fueling his car. Their deaths sent shockwaves through the community, leaving families shattered and authorities scrambling for answers. James "Sonny" Buchanan was a respected landscaper known for his love of nature and his commitment to beautifying his community. His death was not only a personal tragedy, but also a loss felt deeply by the residents who had come to know and appreciate his work. Prem Kumar Walikar, an immigrant from India, had come to America in search of a better life. He was a devoted family man who worked tirelessly to provide for his loved ones. His murder left his family in unimaginable grief, questioning how such a senseless act of violence could claim the life of a man who had dedicated himself to his family and community. Sarah Ramos, a 34-year-old nanny and housekeeper, fell victim to the snipers' indiscriminate violence, as did Lori-Ann Lewis Rivera, a 25-year-old mother vacuuming her van. Their deaths underscored the randomness of the attacks, leaving residents fearful and on edge. Sarah Ramos was remembered as a kind and nurturing caregiver, beloved by the families she worked for. Her dreams of building a better future for herself and her family were cruelly cut short by the snipers' bullets. Lori-Ann Lewis Rivera was a dedicated mother, known for her vibrant personality and her deep love for her family. Her sudden and violent death shattered the lives of her husband and young son, who had been waiting nearby when she was shot. As the body count rose, so did the fear. Pascal Charlotte, a 72-year-old retiree enjoying his golden years, became the fifth victim in a 15-hour span. The sense of vulnerability among residents of the D.C. area was palpable as they realized that no one was safe from the snipers' deadly aim. Pascal Charlotte, a retired carpenter and father of 5, had survived prostate cancer and was looking forward to spending his twilight years with his family. His murder added to the growing list of shattered lives and grieving families. The randomness of the victims and locations made the attacks particularly terrifying. People going about their daily routines, mowing lawns, pumping gas, sitting on benches, became potential targets. The community was gripped by fear, unsure of when or where the next shooting would occur. The sniper attacks continued over the next few weeks, with each shooting adding to the growing sense of panic and helplessness. On October the 4th, 43-year-old Caroline Sewell was shot in the chest while loading her minivan outside a Michael's craft store in Fredericksburg, Virginia. Miraculously, she survived, but the attack further heightened the sense of dread. Caroline Sewell's survival was a rare glimmer of hope during the dark days of the sniper attacks. Despite her serious injuries, she fought bravely for her life, providing a testament to the resilience of the human spirit even in the face of such terror. On October the 7th, 13-year-old Iran Brown was critically wounded outside Benjamin Tasker Middle School in Bowie, Maryland. The young boy's survival was another beacon of hope amid the mounting death toll. Brown's shooting brought the horror of the sniper attacks to the forefront of the national consciousness, as the thought of children being targeted was too much to bear. Iran Brown's survival was due in large part to the quick actions of those around him and the skilled medical personnel who treated him. His story became a symbol of hope and perseverance, highlighting the community's determination to overcome the fear that had taken hold. Police received an important clue when a tarot card, the Death card, was found near the scene of Brown's shooting. On it was written, "Call me God." This cryptic message was the first concrete evidence linking the shootings and suggested a twisted sense of purpose behind the attacks. Investigators from multiple jurisdictions, including local police, the FBI, and the ATF, formed a task force to hunt down the snipers. Despite their efforts, the snipers eluded capture, moving stealthily between jurisdictions and continuing their spree of terror. On October 9th, Dean Harold Myers, a 53-year-old Vietnam War veteran, was shot and killed while pumping gas at a Sunoco station in Manassas, Virginia. Myers, known for his generosity and kindness, was mourned by his family and community. His death underscored the indiscriminate nature of the snipers' targets. Dean Harold Myers had served his country with distinction and was a beloved figure in his community. His murder was a stark reminder of the senseless violence that the snipers were inflicting on innocent lives. On October 11th, 53-year-old businessman Kenneth Bridges was shot while refueling his car at an Exxon station near Fredericksburg, Virginia. Bridges, a father of 6 and successful entrepreneur, was remembered for his dedication to his family and his community. His death sent waves of fear and sorrow through those who knew him. The snipers' methodical approach and apparent lack of a clear pattern in their choice of victims left authorities struggling to develop a profile. The media dubbed the killers the Beltway Snipers, and their reign of terror dominated headlines. On October the 14th, 47-year-old Linda Franklin, an FBI analyst, was shot in the head outside a Home Depot in Falls Church, Virginia. Her husband witnessed the shooting, and the grief and shock were compounded by the fact that Franklin was a member of the law enforcement community. Her colleagues at the FBI were determined to bring her killers to justice. Linda Franklin was a dedicated public servant, known for her commitment to justice and her loving relationship with her family. Her murder was a particularly painful blow to the law enforcement community, which rallied in her memory to intensify the hunt for the snipers. As the attacks continued, fear permeated everyday life. Schools implemented shelter-in-place procedures, sporting events were cancelled, and people were afraid to perform routine tasks like pumping gas or shopping. The randomness of the attacks made everyone feel like a potential target. On October 19th, Jeffrey Hopper, 37, was shot in a restaurant parking lot in Ashland, Virginia. Hopper survived, but the attack added to the growing list of victims and the sense of unease that had settled over the region. A note found at the scene demanded $10 million and threatened the lives of children if the demands were not met. Jeffrey Hopper's survival, like that of Iran Brown and Caroline Sewell, provided a small measure of hope in an otherwise terrifying situation. His recovery became a rallying point for a community desperate for good news amid the relentless violence. On October 22nd, Conrad Johnson, a 35-year-old bus driver, was shot while standing on the steps of his Montgomery County ride-on bus in Aspen Hill, Maryland. Johnson was preparing for his morning route when he was suddenly struck by a single bullet. He was found by his colleagues bleeding and in critical condition. Despite being rushed to the hospital, Johnson succumbed to his injuries later that day. Despite extensive media coverage and a massive law enforcement presence, the snipers remained elusive. The fear and frustration among the public grew, and authorities faced mounting pressure to bring the killers to justice. The break in the case came on October 24th, when authorities arrested John Allen Muhammad and Lee Boyd Malvo at a rest stop in Frederick County, Maryland. They were found sleeping in their blue 1990 Chevrolet Caprice, which had been modified to serve as a sniper's nest. A hole had been cut in the trunk, allowing the shooter to lie prone and fire undetected. The investigation revealed that Mohammed and Malvo had planned the attacks meticulously. They had scouted locations, chosen victims at random, and executed their plan with chilling precision. Their motive was a mix of personal vendettas, radical beliefs, and a desire to instill fear. During their trial, the full extent of their crimes became apparent. Mohammed was identified as the mastermind, while Malvo, heavily influenced by Mohammed, had been a willing participant. The trial also highlighted the bond between the two, with Malvo seeing Mohammed as a father figure. John Allen Mohammed was found guilty of capital murder and sentenced to death. He was executed by lethal injection on November 10, 2009. Lee Boyd Malvo, who was 17 at the time of the crimes, was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. In subsequent years, Malvo expressed remorse for his actions and provided additional insights into Mohammed's influence over him. The Beltway sniper attacks left an indelible mark on the Washington, D.C. area and the nation as a whole. The randomness and brutality of the attacks shattered the sense of security for millions of people. In the years following the attacks, law enforcement agencies across the country reassessed their strategies for dealing with similar threats, aiming to prevent such a tragedy from happening again. The legacy of the DC snipers is one of fear, loss, and a sobering reminder of the potential for violence in seemingly ordinary places. The victims, their families, and the communities affected by the attacks continue to remember and honor those who were lost, and the case remains a poignant example of the impact of senseless violence on society. The arrest of Mohammed and Malvo was a culmination of intense investigative work. Authorities had received numerous tips and leads, but it was a combination of forensic evidence, witness accounts, and good police work that ultimately led to their capture. One critical piece of evidence was the white box truck initially suspected to be the sniper's vehicle. While it proved to be a false lead, it kept the public and law enforcement vigilant. The break came when a witness at a shooting in Montgomery, Alabama, where the snipers had killed a woman during a robbery, provided a partial license plate. This clue led investigators to the Chevrolet Caprice. Ballistic tests on the bullets recovered from the victims matched a Bushmaster XM15 rifle found in Mohammed's car, linking the duo directly to the crimes. Further investigation revealed that Mohammed had purchased the weapon legally, exploiting loopholes in the system. The sniper's capture brought relief to a terror-stricken region, but it also sparked debates about gun control, mental health, and the radicalization of vulnerable individuals. The case underscored the importance of community vigilance and the need for robust communication between law enforcement agencies. As the community began the slow process of healing, memorials and vigils were held to honor the victims. The sense of loss was profound, but so was the determination to remember and learn from the tragedy. Schools, community centers, and local governments implemented new safety protocols to protect against similar threats in the future. In the aftermath, the families of the victims channeled their grief into advocacy and support networks. Organizations were established to provide resources and counseling for those affected by gun violence. These efforts ensured that the victims' memories were honored through meaningful action and community solidarity. The Beltway sniper attacks remain a stark reminder of the fragility of life and the ever-present need for vigilance and compassion. The stories of the victims and survivors continue to resonate, serving as a powerful testament to the enduring impact of their lives and the resilience of the human spirit.